Welcome to our video series on using articles for online marketing. In this video, we'll explore writing good and productive article titles. In this video, I'm going to talk you through what to keep in mind when coming up with article titles. The titles are very important because, of course, it's really the first thing people see when they come across your article. And more often than not, it's what makes people decide whether to read your article, whether to take the time to read your article or not. Of course, you want to make your title relevant to your target market, and you want to structure it in such a way that people want to read it. Now, as I've previously mentioned, if you're building an article around certain keywords, you may want to consider using those in the title if it makes sense, but don't force them in if it's subtly affecting the article title or perhaps doesn't even make sense. So if you can include keywords in your article title, consider it a bonus. But remember that people really do have to read your title. And then, of course, if you can't get the keywords into the title, you can focus on getting them into the body of the article. Again, as I showed you previously, if people come across your article in an article directory through a search engine, probably the first thing they're going to see is the article title, here. And that's what's going to make people decide whether to even click through. So the title is very important for all these reasons. So structure titles to grab the interest of your target market, first of all, and then make keywords a secondary consideration. Okay, let's talk through some articles that are live right now and what works and what doesn't. I've simply gone to eZine Articles, and you can simply browse through the articles they're publishing, all the thousands of articles they're publishing, and you can take a look at all the article titles and see what you think works, and you can potentially use those as structures or for ideas. Okay, what employers need to know about employee blogging. Okay, not a particularly exciting subject, but maybe it is exciting for people who are looking for that particular topic. But perhaps it can be a bit more personal. What do you need to know about employee blogging, for example? Or what business owners need to know about employee blogging? Why you should start an internet business. And this one is phrased as a statement, but it has a question mark at the end, so it's a little bit confusing. For one thing, it's very generic. I would say that it's completely generic and is going to have to compete with the thousands of other articles that are very similar to it. So why should people bother reading it? You want to make your article content stand out. For example, think about something like 10 reasons why now is the best time to start an internet business. It makes the article more timely and a lot more exciting. And people like lists, too. 10 reasons why, or 10 things to avoid, or 10 pitfalls. That structure has been proven to work quite well. Secrets of becoming an online success. That's pretty boring or pretty bland. Secrets is a pretty strong word, but this is a bland or boring topic. You could punch it up by saying 10 hidden secrets to becoming an online success, or 10 little-known secrets to becoming an online success. Just structuring it in that way can make it a lot more powerful. Again, pretty broad and pretty bland. And this one has something to do with network marketing, but I really don't understand the article title. Maybe it means something to that particular market, but I'm not convinced I'd want to read the article, even if I were involved with network marketing. Okay, this one reads more like a news headline, so that's an improvement. A study in incompetence. That makes people want to read this article because there's some controversy there. People like controversy. Maybe it's not a good idea to start with a company name because that's probably not going to be of interest to people who aren't using the company, so maybe you could start with a study in broadband incompetence, or perhaps My Story of Broadband Hell, for example. Really, what you're going to be leading to, and what I'll be coming to in just a moment, is that you really want to pay attention to media headlines because they know how to structure titles to grab people's attention. And as long as it's relevant, there's no reason you can't structure article titles in that way. Okay, not another internet marketing training. Pretty bland, pretty generic. And fast online business. That's pretty good because people always want things fast and they always want things that are easy. So fast and easy or quick and easy are strong words. Two simple keys sounds a bit weak. Probably better to put 5 simple keys because people always want more. Of course, you don't want too much information, not 35 ways to succeed, but maybe 7 ways to succeed. But 2 ways doesn't sound like much of an article, so maybe between 5 and 10 is a better number. 6 key ways to excel at advertising online. Again, not bad. Maybe you could change it to 6 quick ways to punch up your advertising, for example. So really what I'm getting at is that you want to make it attention-grabbing. You want to make it relevant, and you want to make people want to read it. So that's where the attention-grabbing comes in. And if you can make them curious, even better. And don't make them too bland. You know, if the title is bland, why would people want to read it? They'll think it's just like articles they've read before, or there are thousands of articles out there just like it. Like here, if you are an internet newbie, does that make you a sucker? I think that title is too long, and it would probably be better to go with, are you an internet newbie sucker? You know, anyone who considers themselves internet newbies will be drawn into that, and you could say that such a strong question is going to make the target market want to read it. Again, pretty generic. There are a lot of articles about internet scams, so you could change this to make it more timely and more news-like, 5 new internet business scams and how you can avoid them. Or, have you been suckered by these 5 new internet scams? So you can see what I'm leading to here. And I suggest that when you've chosen the subject of your article, you should write lots of potential titles. Then how do you choose the right one? Well, it's often a good idea to leave your article title list sit for a day and then come back to it the next day and read through them and see which one works for you. Or you could perhaps get other people to read them and see which ones really grab their interest. Other people in your target market, or even people who aren't in the target market if you can't find such a person to read through your article titles. But basically, picking the best article titles is very important. And even if, let's say you create 20 article titles, you could even go with 5 of them and create 5 different but similar articles and publish them over time. You know, you don't have to make every article hugely unique. There can be a lot of overlap, and then you can use a lot of different titles, and then you'll get more readers that way. You know, it's unlikely that your readers will read all the dozens or hundreds of articles you publish, so even if the content is similar, and you want to give them different titles to see which one works the best, that's absolutely fine. And related to this, I suggest you get a copy of the following, The First 100 Million. The reason to get this is it's quite an old book now, but it's written by a book publisher, and he details exactly which book titles worked better than others. And he talks also about which structure for book titles worked better than others. For example, how to do this and that, worked very well. So that's a useful thing to get. And actually, how-to titles really are always good. But again, make them specific and make them interesting and relevant and preferably different and unique for your market. But how-to is always a good way to start the title. Now, I've just quickly gone to a news page, and you'll want to spend some time looking through these. Particularly, I would say not the news articles, but more the features and perhaps the opinion pieces, such as here. That's become an article, Apple or Banana, which food should you choose? That's an intriguing article title. It makes you want to read more because you want to find the answer. So, news sites and even magazine sites, and often people suggest that the very best headlines are in magazines such as Cosmopolitan. And if you don't read Cosmopolitan, maybe you can take a look just to see how the article titles are structured, and maybe see how you could potentially use them for your own articles. One thing magazines like Cosmo do know how to do very well is get the attention of their potential readers, because the magazines sit there at the supermarket checkout, and they may only have a few seconds to grab the shopper's attention, so the shoppers buy a copy immediately. So those headline structures, those title structures, are things you want to look at as well. Okay, going back to the first 100 million book, there are actually a few samples here which are relevant. This is from the website thegaryhalbertletter.com, which has a lot of useful information. Essentially, he starts talking about some of the titles detailed in that book and how well they work. For example, How to Improve Your Conversation sold 77,000 copies, but The Romance of Words only sold 10,000. And these books were sold purely from the title. There was no description at all. How these books were sold was through just a long list of book titles, and then people would order from those. So you can see how just the title made a huge difference. Hints in Public Speaking sold 46,000 copies. How to Write Advertising sold 20,000. How to Write Book Reviews only 8,000. How to Psychoanalyze Yourself sold 43,000 copies, whereas How I Psychoanalyzed Myself only sold 13,000, a huge difference. And there are more good examples there. And there's a further example here. How to Break Bad Habits sold 29,000 copies, while How to Form Good Habits only sold 20,000. Often it's suggested that people are more interested in or more willing to solve a problem than to reach a goal. So a solution to a problem is worth more to them than a way to reach a goal. So a way to break bad habits has more emotional resonance than ways to form good habits, because people are more preoccupied with what's bothering them. So maybe consider that for your article titles. So those are good suggestions for how to come up with good article titles. And even if you don't know which one is the best, let's say you come up with 20 ideas for an article title. Take 5 of them and write 5 similar articles and publish them a month apart, for example, because it's very unlikely that the readers of one are going to come across the other articles. And even if they do, they may well have forgotten about your previous article, sometimes by the next day or even the next hour after they've read it. So there's no problem with writing lots of similar articles with similar but still unique article titles. Then you can see which one works the best for you, and even if you aren't sure which article title would be the best, you're hedging your bets, in effect, by publishing lots of similar articles with different titles. So take all these suggestions for article titles into account, and remember they're all very important. Take adding keywords as an afterthought. It's good if you can do it, but the priority should be getting your articles read. And maybe sometimes, you can take one article and do 5 versions of it and publish it under 5 different titles. Maybe make a couple of those 5 titles more keyword specific than others, and make the other 3 more strongly worded titles, but with fewer keywords stuffed into them, so to speak. So everything I'm talking about, you should publish a lot of articles, and really if you're going to be publishing on article directories, you want to be publishing a lot of articles. And of course, the benefit of publishing on article directories is that you end up getting a lot of links to your website. If you get to be known as a well-known author in your market, then it's more likely that your articles will then be republished, because people visit article directories and then take the articles and publish them on their own sites, which is the whole point of article directories. Not only do you get the article on the article directory site, but also you're giving people permission to republish your article. So once your name gets known, the more likely it is that that will happen. Really, what I'm trying to get at is that with article directories, you really want to be publishing an awful lot of articles. Otherwise, you're not going to make a dent in the market, since there are so many articles on the article directory sites. So if you're going to be using article directories, you want to be publishing a lot. One article a day isn't a bad thing to consider. And again, you don't have to write the article yourself. You can get other people to write it for you, and this will all be covered in more detail in later videos. Anyway, you don't have to spend an hour or 2 or 3 a day writing articles. You can get it done for you, and then maybe just do a quick edit and quick check, and then put your name to it and then publish it. Of course, what you're really going to want to spend time on is making the article title as strong as possible. So if you have articles written for you, then you're going to want to punch up the article titles, or maybe even write the article title right at the start, and then maybe give your article writer a list of 50 article titles, and then they go off and write them for you, return them to you, and then you can publish them through the article directories, and that will give you a lot of good links to your site. It will get you a lot of visitors to your site. Also, people may find your articles through the search engines, and also maybe those articles will be picked up from the directory and published on other people's sites as well. That's called the echo effect. When you publish an article on eZine Articles, for example, and someone visits eZine Articles, reads your article, and decides to publish it on their own site, and then someone else does it, and somebody else does it, that's called the echo effect, because the effect your article has sort of echoes around the internet, so to speak, if you see the analogy. That's the term often used. And again, if you're publishing articles to article directories, you are giving people the right to republish your articles. So again, that's why article titles are very important, because you have a lot of competition on article sites. You want to grab people's attention and get them to republish your work so you get more links and more traffic to your site.